Happy Monday, and we are counting down to the 1st of July because now that the draft is done, that's in the rearview mirror. Now we look at the first and free agency. And the teams with a lot of cap space are going to be pretty popular right now with those pending unrestricted free agents. And with teams looking to get rid of some money so they can jump into the free agent market. Apparently, Vancouver met with Tyler Myers yesterday, so of course Tyler Myers is going to make a lot of money. Speculation is 6 million plus, and Vancouver would work because they can absolutely use Tyler Myers on that blue line. He's a big physical presence. He can put some points in the net. I think he would be a good addition. He's not a top two guy. If he's overplayed, it exposes that he does have some shortcomings. But if they can avoid overplaying him, he can be a good addition. Joe Pavelski apparently is meeting with two teams this week, reportedly Tampa and Dallas. So I will say this, as a fan of the Stars, Pavelski to Dallas, please. I will straight up say that would be absolutely fantastic. I will not be happy with losing Zuccarello, which appears to be on the way. Zuccarello's going to the UFA market, but Pavelski would be a really nice addition to that team as long as the cap hit and the length are reasonable. But Tampa's an interesting one too because, of course, we know they dumped off JT Miller to try to save some money. Pavelski would honestly have to take below market value to play for the Tampa Bay Lightning, and I still think he circles back and ends up back in San Jose. Bobrovsky and Panarin in Florida. They're meeting with Florida later this week. Panarin, there's also rumors tying him to the Colorado Avalanche, that the Avalanche are very interested in Panarin, and why wouldn't they be? You've got a fantastic first line that can score like crazy, and all year we talked about how they really needed more depth. Panarin immediately gives them that depth, whether he's on the first line, whether he's on the second, it doesn't really matter. It would give Colorado the ability to put together two top lines. Two lines that would be really difficult to shut down in a playoff series, on top of adding Byram on that blue line. So watch for rumors of Tyson Barrie to potentially be on his way out to continue, because it makes a lot of sense. If Byram's ready, and if Byram and Makar are going to be on that blue line, hey, you can probably move Barrie. So we talked about Marleau before he got traded and how there were rumors that maybe he was going to stay in Toronto. That what I said, that doesn't make any sense. Now there's rumors of maybe Zaitsev's going to have to stay in Toronto. His cap hit at 4.5 million. The cap's gone up. You might be able to find somebody that wants it, but that 5 more years, that's where it's a problem. So even if Toronto retained $1 million or something like that, it's still that 5 years is a long time. And it looks like his game isn't progressing. So he came off of a really bad season. And maybe Toronto's going to end up keeping him. But by putting this on the board, it means he's going to get traded either right after this video posts or within the next day or two. Robert Thomas has had wrist surgery. So we always, during the playoffs, as we're running up to the Stanley Cup, we wonder how many bruises and injuries and how many guys are playing hurt. Thomas, wrist surgery. I didn't see anything saying he shouldn't be good to go for training camp. And the kid's a warrior. I think there's a lot of upside for him offensively as well. Brad Hunt has signed a 2-year extension with Minnesota. I mentioned about a week ago now how thin the pool was for blue liners in the unrestricted free agent market. It just got even thinner. Hunt's a decent number 6/number 7 option. He can fill in here and there. And Minnesota clearly values him as that number 6/number 7 defenseman. So he signs for $700,000 a year for 2 years. There's really no fault in that extension. And Nashville right now is seen as a front runner for Matt Duchene. They've made space, and I know David Poile has said he's not in any rush to spend that cap space, but we know they need Duchene. We know that adding Duchene to that roster would be potentially a big, bold move. And then adding Duchene would mean that Turris is even more redundant. Turris, to me, then becomes absolutely 100% on his way out of town. It would save a little bit more cap for them as well to make up for the difference of Duchene coming in. And, of course, they got rid of Subban for that reason as well. And then if you move Turris after getting Duchene, you have money to bring somebody else in as well. So I think Nashville's going to be a little more active in the offseason than they necessarily might have been expected to be. And if they pick up Duchene, that may cause a couple other moves to take place. And because we're running up to the 1st of July, the Vancouver Canucks are connected to almost every unrestricted free agent that isn't a goaltender. It is that ridiculous time of year where, Panarin's interested in Vancouver. Oh, Canucks are up on Zaitsev. Oh, the Canucks, they almost had a deal to move up to third in the draft, but they didn't want the Seabrook contract, which is a rumored deal that was supposedly going to go through. It's that silly time of year where you're going to hear a lot of talk connecting Canucks, and for me, it always comes back to that whole clickbait thing that I talked about a few weeks ago, where people will talk about certain teams just so it'll generate clicks. They can't talk about Toronto because Toronto is not going to be active, and Dubas has said so publicly. They are just trying to make sure they keep this team together. They're not looking to add in the offseason. They believe they'll get better internally. And if they're going to sign anybody, what Dubas said was they're going to be looking at another Ennis kind of situation where it's a guy who comes in on an entry-level pay, of $700,000-$800,000 who comes in to play fourth line or maybe fill in on the third. They're not looking at anything big. So they try to generate as many hits as they can by mentioning teams like Vancouver, Montreal, Edmonton, basically the Canadian teams. And they know Ottawa's not in the running either, unless we're talking about a cap dump, in which case Pierre Dorian might be all ears. But it is an interesting time of year because I've lost track of how many free agents over the last 20 years I've heard are going to Toronto or Vancouver. And it is for Vancouver. I know it extends back to Marian Gaborik apparently buying a house in Vancouver, and fans being all like, "Oh yeah, Gaborik loves it here." And and then there were times where Sakic's contract was coming up in Colorado, and you'd hear Canuck fans are like, "Oh, well, clearly he's going to come here because he's going to want to play at home before he retires," and he didn't. So when you see these rumors, always take them with a grain of salt. These ones here seem to be a little more solid in that they make some sense. But when I see, Canucks are interested, what I hear is basically Jim Benning saying, well, yeah, if we could add a Nyquist, we would. Well, yeah, we'd love to have a Tyler Myers. Sure, we'll talk to Jake Gardiner. It doesn't mean they're coming. But fans will glom onto that, and then, okay, here's my roster for next year. Just it's a matter of keeping everything all nice and calm. I actually think this year's UFA crop, outside of Panarin, who could potentially be a game changer, but if his asking price is $11 million or higher, that's crazy money. I really honestly think this year's free agent crop is slightly underwhelming, but we'll see what happens, right? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below as always, and we will discuss trades throughout the summer, and I'm sure once free agent frenzy is past, there will be more trades. There will be teams going, oh, well, we didn't get what we wanted in the draft. We didn't get what we wanted in free agency. Now we're going to have to pick up the phone and look to get what we want via the old-fashioned trade. And I will be here to report it when that happens because I don't take a day off. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for all your support. I'll talk to you again soon.